What's up, YouTube? Adam Grover coming back at you with another video. I was hoping to give you the update of the 600 versus the 750, but didn't have good luck with the 600. Unfortunately, it needs to be rebuilt. It actually it's not getting the fuel properly, and it also hung wide open on me, where to the point where I had to shut the car off. So yeah, but on the other hand, the 750's back on it, and I told you guys that I wanted to see what it would do in a different DA. And today was a very nice day here in New Jersey. So, that being said, I checked on the Draggy what the DA was, and at the time it was like 240 something feet at like 73 degrees. I was like, man, that would be nice. I was like, well, I'll wait. And now the car, I was running out somewhere with the car, and the car was a little warm. You know, it was up to temperature, 160 degrees or whatever it's going to run. And I was like, I'll let it sit. I'll let the car cool down. This way, if it's getting up to temp, maybe I can catch it before it hits 160. The temp will drop off outside, get down in the 60s. And possibly the DA will go down. But it's summertime here, and I'm an idiot, and you know, it gets dewy at night and stuff, and usually it goes up the later it gets. So moisture in the air, all that good fun stuff. So the DA went up to 535, which is still a big drop from the last pass, which was 1304, because I have the passes in front of me to show you guys. So like I said, I put the 750 back on it. I went and actually checked the tire that I dropped air out of to see what it was set to. Now, when I set this tire the other day, I set it using a pen, a literal pen that you write with. And how I do that is I shove it in the valve stem and let the air out of the tire. I've also used a pebble in the past. I didn't have a gauge handy. So I look at the contact patch as I'm letting air out, and I want to see that contact patch of the tire. You know, when you have air in a tire, kind of does one of these numbers, and when you let it out, it flattens. So that's what I was looking for, to see if it would flatten out, and if I could get that tread pattern all the way across the asphalt. I did this in a parking lot. So that's how I set the tire pressure. Today I actually checked it. I grabbed the gauge out of the car, the green Mustang here. It's the last car I was, well, the Blazer was the last one I was running, but I put the gauge in this car here. So I grabbed the gauge and checked it, and it was at like just under 14 psi. So I dropped it down to 13 to make it even. So that gives you an idea, you know, of where I was at as far as knowledge goes on this stuff. People can laugh and think, oh, he's setting tire pressure with a writing utensil, you know, but I'm halfway decent, I like to think, at doing stuff by eye and figuring it out. To get into a short story, a buddy of mine asked if his tire was flat on his car, and I said, it looks like you got probably, I forget what it was now, but I think I told him like 8 pounds or 10 pounds or something. He goes, what are you talking about? Is it flat or no? I said, no, but it is low. I said, you probably got 10 pounds or something in it. He checked it, and that's exactly where it was at. It's 10 pounds. So, you know, when you do this stuff, I'm getting a little rusty lately, but when you're involved with it, you just kind of can look at stuff and realize what it is. When you're in the groove of things. Getting back to the wagon. Tire, I set it to 13, just on the drive tire. I left the other side, whatever it's at. I pumped them up, I think, to like 30 when I got the tires or something. So wherever that's at is where it's at. Now, like I said, the temperature dropped. We got it down to 64 degrees outside. I shouldn't say we, but, the temperature dropped down to 64 degrees. And the DA was 535 feet DA. So, I saw the DA, and I went out there and made a pass. Little burnout. I saw smoke starting to come off, rolled out a little bit and backed up. The car was under 160 degrees. That's good and bad. And the good is because the engine's cool. 302 likes to be cold. If that thing could be stone cold, it most likely will run its butt off. Usually the colder they are, the faster they go. Them 302s. They love cold and they love cold air. But the problem with that is fuel doesn't like to burn when it's super cold. It wants to stumble and spit, and so it was trying to. I had to drive it. I couldn't just whack it to the floor. I had to kind of like bring it up on the foot brake, let off, and like kind of prime it, and then hit it, and let off the brake all at the same time. But gave us our best pass. So at 7 minutes into the video, let's finally see what it did. So I told you guys that with the DA dropping, it would pick up a good amount. Now the thing is with this, the DA can drop into the negatives. And obviously this temperature could drop, wintertime, this stuff will drop a lot. And it makes a big difference. Now, I'm not saying that this thing's going to jump into the 12s if this gets like a negative DA and this is, 19 degrees. But I will say that this could probably be either a 40 or maybe even break into the high 30s. But 1555 at 88.19 mile an hour. We broke out of the 10s in the 8th. It went a 999 at 71.66. 23360. That's the old fastest pass there. 1578, 248.60, 1023 in the 8th. 71 degrees at 1304 DA. So, there you have it. Now, I told you guys before I did the intake that I figured it would probably go anywhere from a 1570 to a 1550. I don't know if I said it might even break a 40. But as you can see, it did the 50 like I thought it would. We got some more stuff to do to it. The 600, after seeing this pass, I really don't even care to put the 600 on it. However, I am curious to see what it does. But that 600 will probably be like one of the last things I do before the stick. Reason being is because I think that it already did the 1550. I was more prone to wanting to do the 600 because I didn't see this pass yet, this 1550, even though I kind of figured with the DA dropping it might get there. I didn't think it would jump there with a positive DA though like that. I figured it might go like a 60 with that DA, but seeing the 55 definitely, it's got me gun-ho, because if I see that DA drop back down to 200, that could possibly be a 1550 flat, or maybe even break into the 40s. If we could get a negative DA, I don't think it's going to drop off like that. But if I could get a negative DA in like a 58-degree day, that would be ideal. That'd be great, because then it probably would definitely get into the 40s. I think that's capable. The 60 foot, the 233, that was nice to see, especially with no gear in it. Putting gear in it would definitely make a pretty big difference. Probably more so mile an hour than even in the 60, because that converter's going to kill it. But it's long. I don't have a tack or a shift light in the car. I try to shift it around 60 mile an hour, and first to second, and then it goes through in second gear. So that tells you how crappy the gear is in this thing. I want to cut the hood out for the scoop. I might try to do something like I did to my old car and cut the back panel out for the cowl to let air out. I'm undecided if I want to do that, because I think there's vents that lead into the car for the air and stuff, and I don't want fumes getting in this car, because I do want to put my son in it. So I gotta look into that a little bit more, but I would like to be able to get heat out of the engine bay some type of way. And then the electric fan, which I probably should do sooner than later. But the electric fan, I definitely want to get on this car, because I don't like that Flexolite bullcrap fan. Honestly, in this type of weather, I could probably drive it without the fan just to see what it does if I just unbolt it and take the fan blades off. It's one of them Flexolite aluminum, the ones that decapitate people or cut your head off. I want to get that off of there. That thing's probably robbing a little bit, I would imagine. So I want to do the electric fan, cut the hood out, and then hopefully tomorrow there will be a different scoop for the car on its way. Haven't even told nobody about this, but I actually bought a Boss scoop for it. So I haven't even told my dad, but so he'll be learning that when he watches this. But I bought a Boss 429 hood scoop for it, so I'm undecided if I want to put that on the car or not. I want to see where the bolts and stuff are for it, and if I can try to make it where both scoops can be, the bolts are way different where they bolt up, but if I can make it so both hood scoops kind of fit the car, so I can switch back and forth, that's what I want to try to do. If not, then I'll probably put the Boss scoop on this hood, and then maybe get another hood and put the GT scoop on it, and maybe switch hoods back and forth. I don't know. I'll figure it out. But I'd really love to find a stock fiberglass hood. That way it gets a little bit of weight off the car, but they don't make a lot of crap for these. So kind of stuck with what you can get. I'm going to look into it more and see what I can find, though. But I'm not trying to take a bunch of weight out of the car, but if I need a hood and I can get a glass hood, then I'll put the Boss scoop on the glass hood, and that'll be like the race hood or whatever. But I kind of like looking over a scoop, so the Boss scoop would be cool to look over. So I got to see which one I like on the car the best and go from there. But so that'll be coming in the future. We'll see if there's a difference between scoops, and I'll plumb that in to the Boss hood scoop and this one. That's what I would like to do. I'd actually kind of like to make something for the air cleaner. I had it planned out to get the air cleaner where the lid sat up basically against the hood scoop and was open with like a back in it, so that way it pushes air into the air cleaner and kind of rams it into the carburetor. That way when you pop the hood, it still has like a stock kind of look, just modified a little bit, you know. Make people scratch their head a little bit and look at it and be like, what the heck? Why do you do that? You know? But we'll see what happens. You know, I might try it because I could probably just make it out of aluminum and just make it where the lid kind of crushes against it, and it doesn't have to be nothing too fancy. And then if it works, we'll use it. But best part would probably be a velocity stack right into the hood with like an air pan, and having, you know, the back of the scoop shut against it and seal it. So I got to come up with something, because I do want to make it where that's functional, where it has like a ram air style deal. The air cleaner right now on the car won't even, it chokes it bad to the point where you floor it and the car don't even want to move. So that air cleaner will not be getting ran anytime soon. It'll probably go in the car for pictures and car shows. Sorry guys, I'm trying not to sneeze right now. But other than that, the air cleaner, the bust. It's a shame too, because it looks awesome. But hood scoops, fans from mechanical to electrical, cutting, you know, the hood open, and then I told you guys all the other stuff, the cam, 5-speed swap, all that stuff will be coming. Suspension after the 5-speed goes in, probably do that. I'd like to do suspension with the rear, in the back at least. So we got some stuff coming with this thing to show you guys what helps, what don't. You guys just saw it here. We picked up, what's that, 4/10 from an intake swap. Yeah. The DAs were actually relatively close. Well, not really, I guess, but closer than what our last pass was. So it'd be nice if we could get that DA, or that whole night, 58 degrees with the 251 DA here. Probably pick up a little bit. Probably be another 10th or so. But that's a pretty good jump from 1680s to 1550s with an intake and a carburetor and timing. And then a spare tire out of it. Actually, the jack wasn't even back here. It was just the spare tire. But so there you guys have it. Intake swap, 4/10. Just by changing an intake. There it is. I called it. Thankfully. Thankfully it proved me to be right. Because that's what I want to try to show you guys. Anybody can come on here and tell you guys what something should do. I see a lot of guys that, oh yeah, we put an intake on the car, it does this, they say it, but some people don't show it. And I want to actually build this car with you guys watching, so you can see what does what. Even if it slows down, I want you guys to see what works, what don't. You know, I can tell you and what to do all day and tell you, yeah, this will work, yeah, you know, all my experience I can tell you, and you can try it, and you might be able to do it. Some guys can't. And some guys sit there and they wonder, and then they start to say, there's no way, I did what he said to do. Or if you guys actually see it and you try it and you don't do it, then you know that I'm doing it, but what was wrong, where, or what's different exactly, and what you did between what I did. I'm not going to tell you every single trick, like that intake has work done, and I'm not telling you exactly what is done to that, but I will tell you it's simply modified to where anybody could go with a drill and a sanding roll I think I probably did most of that by hand, to be honest with you. But and with a file and different things. But it was a long time ago. I did that intake when I was like 19 or 20 years old. So I think I was 19 actually when I got it and did it. But straightened the runners out, did some stuff in the plenum a little bit. I mean, my dad made videos on how to do stuff. You know, he tells you some of the stuff. But there's some stuff that it's really small little things, and it could be something as simple as an eighth of an inch in a corner of a port or a plenum or a divide or whatever that can make a minuscule amount of difference. But it's the minuscule differences in the intake or in the way it's put together, or because trust me, I've seen some stuff where you pull it apart and it's like, what the heck did this guy do here? I've seen gaskets where they overlap half the port. It's little things, attention to details that make a car run well. And I'm not saying that this thing's setting the world on fire. My Explorer is almost just as fast as this. I've been 1560 or whatever with that thing. And that's a 4.0 V6 heavy truck. So trust me, this thing's not fast by any means. I don't even want to use the word impressive, but for back in the 80s, this car would run extremely well because this is all the stuff that they had back then. The intake was available back then. That's an old intake. They don't even make that version of it anymore. It's a different part number. It's a totally different looking intake. You know, that intake was available back then. The headers that are on it, they're Headmans. That company was out back then and most likely made 302 headers back then. It's got glass packs on it with side pipes. That is definitely error correct, unfortunately. The only thing that's not error correct would be the carburetor, which I can tell you right now, a Holly will run right with that. A Holly might actually run better than that particular Brawler, because that Brawler has a lot of jet and stuff in it. It's more so a race carburetor. A regular Holly 750 on that with the choke horn and all would run just as well as the carburetor that's on it. I can promise you that. My dad had a quick fuel 650. I built a Holly 650, and I had both on my car, and I went a tenth faster with the Holly than I did the quick fuel. So that whole, oh, you got $1 million carburetor, you can right out the window. And that's actually a budget carburetor these days. That carburetor is like $500 brand new, or $450 or something like that. I think I paid for it. That's like one of the cheapest carburetors you can buy, other than the like standard basic Holly, which I don't even know, they might be the same price. So, other than the carburetor, that car is pretty much error correct. Getting back to my point, 1550s out of a wagon back then in the 80s, even in the 90s, was quick. You know, you pull up next to a wagon at a street light, and you're in your brand new Corvette back then, you're going to have a fit. And I know that because my dad's wagon that went high 15s gave a Corvette a fit in the 90s. So, and that was from a roll. They were roll racing each other down the highway, playing around, if I remember the story correctly. But, so that just goes to show you, today it's not fast. I'm not saying that a 15-second pass is going to do anything. You know, Kias go 15s. The Stingers actually, I think, go 13s. So this thing's mad slow in 2024. But if you take this wagon and you put it back in 1984 or 5 or even 1994, you got to figure a brand new GT automatic Mustang only went 15s. Didn't matter if it was a Foxbody, SN95, they all ran 15s with an AOD in them. Even the stick shift ones, if you got one on a street tire and somebody I don't know how to drive, this car would give them a fit. So think about that. You know, if you're a younger guy and well, 15s is slow, let it sink in that in the era, the car would have been actually relatively quick. Not fast, but quick. It would have gave some cars that were faster than it on the street a run for their money, where it was like, wow, for a wagon, that's quick. You know, it makes some Camaros and Mustang guys go, why do I have a Mustang? And I just had a station wagon next to me. A wagon, you know. Now they're more, people know what they do. They see them all the time. They're in no preps. They work. People know what they're about. Back then, people didn't understand these cars. Fairmont, why do you want one of them? That's a old lady's car. I heard all that stuff. My dad used to love the Fairmonts. He had a ton of them when I was growing up. But, and before I was even born, he had them. But back then, nobody wanted them. They were junk. Why do you want that ugly thing? Nobody realized that what they were about. So this thing going a 1550, it might not seem like a big deal. It might not seem fast. You got to think of what parts it has in it. The fact that it's got 1980s technology, 1960s even technology, because it is a 68 motor. Everything that's in this car, except for the carburetor, you could get back in that time, and to put this vehicle together and go what it goes. So with the stick in it, that's what I'm going to show you guys. The stick, the gear, the electric fan, you know, that stuff back then would be a little bit harder to come by. You just couldn't go to a salvage yard and grab a fan off a Contour, because the Contour wasn't even made in the 80s. But, you know, stuff, people used to unhook them at the track. So that's where the electric fan will come into play. It'll be just like taking the fan off of it right now, running the car with no fan. Granted, you can't drive around like that, obviously. But I do want to show what the electric fan can do over a mechanical fan. But, so other than the fan and the carburetor, those two things, when the fan goes on it, this car could have been built in the 80s with the stick in it, the T5, because that's what Mustangs came with in the 80s. The gear, all that stuff was available back in. So you'll see what this thing could have did, you know, back then, basically, just in 2024. So I'm not going to put nothing crazy fancy in it. It's going to use all 87 Mustang stuff. So it'll be like it was built in the late 80s, theoretically. The cam is relatively close to a B cam. I don't know how long that Steeda cam's been around, but I know the B cam was around, you know, 80s, 90s. Regardless, you could get a flat tappet cam with the same specs. The 480 lift was a common, you know, granted there's duration and overlap and LSA that, you know, play into it. But there's actually better flat tappet cams than the cam I'm going to put in it. It's just I want the dependability of that hydraulic roller. The rockers are probably era correct. They're Crane Golds. They're old, so they'll fit the car perfectly. The hydraulic roller conversion, you can do it by drilling the block and stuff. So there's ways of making this stuff work. It's just I got this stuff on a deal, and you know, it's easier to slip the link bar lifters in it, the, you know, retrofit lifters, than it is to tap and drill or drill and tap a block and put the dog bones and all in it. But it can be done. I have done it, but I rather use what I have. and show you guys all that stuff. Because you gotta be careful doing it, and you gotta really know what you're doing when you do that. You can drill through the cam bearing pretty easy, and have some problems then. So we're gonna do it this way. It's gonna be pretty close to how it would be back in the 80s with the stuff I'm going to use. The suspension will probably be one thing that updates it, because I am going to use UPR stuff in it. So there it'll progress into like a 2000s build, I guess. But you guys will be able to see what it does, is my point. I think I rambled on long enough about it. But I just want you guys to be there with me when I do it, so you guys can see exactly what this thing is capable of doing. I'm going to try my best to get it where I think it belongs. And we're off to it was a little rough with the 15.8, but with the 1550, the DA, thank God, gave me a good day. So there it is, guys. Got our 1550 pass. Thanks for watching. If you're new to the channel, like, subscribe. Stay tuned if you want to see more. Comment below. Let me know what you guys think. I like your guys' comments. It makes me feel good seeing you guys comment and enjoy this stuff. Hopefully I'm doing a decent job at keeping you guys entertained. So, trying to show you guys to the best of my ability, This is just an intake swap. You guys saw what the carburetor did. You saw what the timing did. Now you saw what an intake does. So now it's on to the next little thing that we can do. And, this is all budget crap. This is all stuff I had laying around and that you can find relatively cheap. So go put an intake on your car or carburetor and, have some fun. Because even though it's slow, it's fun seeing it progress from a 1681 to a 1550. That's a nice progress point. So, thanks again for watching. Like and subscribe. I'll catch you guys on the next one.